Welcome back to Who Should You Choose, the video series where I go through the prior videos, questions, and comments and help you with your HUT lineup decisions. The fantasy event is here, and we've also got a lot of interesting comments that we're gonna break down. So as always, let's start with some of the more liked ones and things like that. Again, for anyone that's new to the videos, you want to maybe subscribe, notifications on to make sure that you get your question answered, your best shot at getting your question answered in the next episode. So I go through and I like some of the ones that are more common, and then I sort by some of the more liked ones. So that being said, let's start with Hey Slaves. First, you're experiencing the fantasy event and wondering, when do the players get upgraded? Is it typically on a certain day of the week or a day after they score a goal IRL? I cannot stand that someone doesn't just log in real quick and upgrade it, but obviously, they've got work hours, and they technically had to go back into work if that was the case. So it is what it is. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 5 p.m. So if a goal happens, those would be the next days that it upgrades. So if it happens on Monday night and he scores, you're going to see it Tuesday at 5 p.m. If he scores on Thursday at a Thursday night's game, he'll get an upgrade at 5 p.m. on Friday. If he scores on the weekend, you're not seeing an upgrade until Tuesday at 5 p.m. Hey, Slaves, is it worth to do the Al MacInnis Supernatural card after making Captain MacInnis and how much better Cale Makar was than all of the other Master Set items from the Cover Athlete event? I am full-blown only focusing on the Master Set defensemen and the high-end defenseman cards because D2D one-timers are what they are, but it's also a massive advantage to be able to knock players off the puck with players with big body checking rating, high defensive awareness to actually intercept passes. I just think that defensemen matter more than ever in Hockey Ultimate Team when building your team. So 100% I would greenlight Al MacInnis. Just because this guy from Southeast Asia asked if to play online or offline, I live in India and play online all the time. I get players from Europe to play against me. I barely have problem finding matches. Sometimes early in the morning, there might be a slight problems or longer waiting periods due to time difference. But in general, it's possible and also should be from Thailand. Again, it depends how close you are to the server, like the closest server you are. If you play and you're on like 100 ping, your opponent is probably on 20 or something. So it's probably going to be almost impossible, but it's going to be different for everyone. But you could give it a try. I would do it in Wildcard. Try it in Wildcard. ASCII to please bring back couch co-op HUT. This is what should have happened with HUT Rush. I 100% agree that bringing co-op for HUT is the future of HUT because World of Chell is the most played mode in the NHL video game. And if you were able to just bring in your World of Chell team and work towards everyone that plays gets objectives done and things like that, that plays the game, it would be so good for HUT. It'd just be so much fun. You could bring in your Sixes team and play a HUT Champs run. Like, I would love that. It'd be so much fun. Hey, Slaves, just wondering why the Master Set fantasy cards are less overall than the normal fantasy cards, even though the Master Set ones are meant to be better. So what they do is they take, at least from my understanding, they take a couple prior years and they average it out. So if you look, Evgeny Malkin hasn't hit 30 goals in 5 years. However, on paper or on pace, because he's been injured so much, other than the last 2 years, he's on average of like 29 goals. So they always kind of have to exceed what they should hit, which makes some of them kind of like not good. It looks like some of the base cards, like if you like think Garland or Middlestad, remember those cards were set to come out and they released them once the event was made. So it's odd because the Master Set player items are completely worthless in terms of like they have no more value other than the card art to me. Which an idea that I had was, since power-up icons, the base ones like Brindamore, Dale Howard-Chuck, all of those cards, since those don't upgrade past what they do now, we just found that out, that they will not upgrade guys. They are capped at whatever their tier is right now, so 83s, right? What they should have done is not wasted cover or Master Set art on those non-upgradable cards. They should have just made every fantasy card have Master Set player item. Slaves, I love the vids. You're helping a ton. Is there any way to change your team name? I'm struggling to find the setting for it. I don't think you can change your team name. I think you'd have to delete your account and then restart it, which I wouldn't recommend doing because if you have pre-orders or anything like that, you're not getting those back. So, should I pay $1 million for Granlund right now? That's a comment in my Twitch chat right now as I record this. Yes, I would pay $1 million for Garland right now. Hey, Slaves, thanks for continuing to be honest without whining. Really appreciate it, and I really enjoy watching all your content. I never make a move until I have your insights. I want to point out, guys, don't just make your teams the way that I say, right? Like, But if an event comes out and you don't have an affinity for any of the player items, then yeah, if you want my advice on if this is the best one, then okay, yeah. But I don't want everyone to use what I say as like the end all be all because everyone experiences the game different. For example, I have Paul Decaf, while you guys might have Paul Espresso. That would be an example of some things. Just sometimes cards just don't work. On to my question. I'm a huge Canucks fan, and I managed to get Garland, which will make watching games even more fun. It's the best. That's my favorite part about fantasy. In the process, I bought a bunch of 82s, and I didn't end up using them. Should I sell them back now, or should I keep them for later events? The next event will not nearly have as much value to the community as the fantasy event. I would sell your 82s right now. Hey Slaves, been playing since NHL 13, and it's crazy to think I'm 23 now playing NHL 25, but just wanted to say I'm thankful for your content, as you always seem to always go very in-depth to the events and really care about the information to give your audience. Growing up in Edmonton, the Oilers are a religion, so I can see the passion you have, and it must be amazing to be able to do this influencer gig as a part-time, full-time job. Just wanted to ask if there I am blessed, by the way. That is not lost on me. It is. I still sometimes don't believe that I get to do what I get to do. But thank you for everyone that watches. I just wanted to ask if you were honestly hopeful about the future of Hut moving on for years in the future. As a longtime player, I've seen the game change a lot, for better or for worse. But it seems like now, from an outsider's point of view, EA representatives are really not listening to their content creators / community. I think this fantasy event is a great step in the right direction, but just wanted to know your thoughts on the future of Hut years in the future. Cheers, man. You put a lot of hard work in. Grab a beer and just relax to watch the Leafs game sometime. I went on a long rant about this on Twitch this afternoon. I think that we are going to look back on NHL 25 in terms of how the content is released, and we are going to like it more than what we did the prior 10 years. And rewards are in an awful spot. The XP path is an absolute mess. There is no communication from the EA content team, which is a joke. But if you were to go into, this is what I said to my Twitch chat, if you were to go into this year, if you were to redo this year, knowing everything that you know now about the market, so that 75 and above items are going to be extremely expensive. Base cards will hold their value. Master set player items will hold their value. We will have more coins than we'll ever have. The XP path is not meant to actually replace squad battles and rivals rewards. It's meant to supplement and just give you a little bit. The main way to get rewards is through objective paths and things like that. Would you be as upset if you were to go back and do launch over again than you are now after them not saying anything and not explaining that they're changing a lot of things, and it's just like, here it is what it is, figure it out. And I think that the majority of us would be like, no, we would have a better experience now knowing. And I think that's the big issue, right? And it's going to take a couple years for people to get used to it. I think the biggest thing is that you can go buy whoever you want. And that's never been a thing that's been viable for 90% of the player base. Like, if you want a card and you've been playing somewhat regularly since launch, you probably have 500,000 coins if you listen to me and you sold everything tradable, right? Even if you didn't do it at the right times, right? Like when I was wrong about selling 82s and all of that earlier, right? It's just so different, and there's a lot of things they have to fix, and it is frustrating that they are seemingly just radio silence, and I don't really know. I've tried all sorts of different ways to get them to have like a discourse, and maybe we'll get one. But I think we'll look back on it in more of a positive light than right now. I think the biggest issue is that the game was designed to just blast you with packs. And scientifically, packs are just like gambling. It is you're getting a dopamine kick every time you open up a pack because there is hope. You don't get the dopamine release when you pull a card. You get the dopamine release when you're hoping, every time you're opening the pack, right? And then the crash is when you don't pull anything, right? And the difference here is that we don't get any packs, but every pack is so much more impactful. That's a lot of saying the word pack. For example, an ultimate pack in this year's game, I don't think it exists. But if you were to pull 20, 80 overall items, let's say you don't pull anything, it's just 20, 80 overall items. Those sell for almost 20,000 coins a piece right now. Okay, so let's say you were able to get a pack, an ultimate pack in this year's game. 200,000 coins. In every other game prior, if you pulled 20, 80 overall items, which is what you did most of the time, that was 1,000, 1,200 points or 1,200 coins a card. That's 20,000. Yes, we are given more coins. Inflation is crazy in Hut, but it is not 10x, right? So there are a lot of things to be upset about with this year's game and the market, and it has a lot to do with lack of communication. But I think that once we get adjusted to the change, I think we'll enjoy it a lot more. And it's just so different. and they didn't say anything, and that's what's frustrating. Hey, Slaves, love your content. Been watching for a couple years now since I started playing, and it's lots of fun. I recently bought JT Miller's 85 Hut Game Breakers, and he's been playing great. And I also bought Adam Fantilli's 85 Team of the Week. This is something that would never happen in prior years' games, guys. So what I was talking about, how the game is so much different now from the market, the fact that you can go and buy top-end cards just wouldn't happen. You wouldn't, because you knew that they would crash in price. And now, because they don't crash in price, you can try them out for a couple days or even a week, and you're really not going to lose that much coins. And Fantilli hasn't been the best, so I was wondering if I should sell him and buy a new card to try it, or keep it for Team of the Year, because those cards are always my favorite because the way the card looks and plays. So, should I start saving now and go for 2 or 3 of those, or go for a fantasy card and just hope I get a 99 early? I don't live near servers, so I can only play squad battles or moments. Do you think I'd be able to get a fantasy card or no? Well, the good thing about the fantasy event this year, one of the best things, is that they guarantee you getting a fantasy card. If you do all of the moments, right, and objectives, you will get 16 fantasy collectibles. You can do the B&D set. It will end up being Sebastian Repo probably, and you'll be upset about it, or Kyle Palmieri, or someone that you're probably not that thrilled with. But there has never been a game where they've offered you a guaranteed one for free entirely. They would get you about halfway, and then you'd have to spend the rest, like last year. So I would 100% do that, even if you're not going to invest in one card specifically. In terms of like saving Fantilli for Team of the Year, there's no guarantee that Team of the Years will even have trade-ins. Guys, you got to operate that. The way that Hut works is not anything like we've ever seen it before. I think that McDavid's Supercharge card, because it's 7 million coins in value, will be allowed to be traded in. There's a reason why it's not B&D, it's untradeable, right? Anything else, though, there's no guarantee that a Master Set player item, I saw a lot of people about, like, say, McKinnon, like, make McKinnon's Master Set item because you can guarantee yourself trying to make his Team of the Year, right? If you look at this year, guys, you should be able to make every card regardless if you have his Master Set item. I mean, the fantasy event, you can make literally every single fantasy card, even the base ones, for the same amount of price as a Master Set item. So I hate playing the game like that. I've always said that, like, saving everything for Team of the Year is so boring, because then you get 4 Team of the Year cards, and now you've got 4 players locked on your team. And while they are amazing cards, if they don't upgrade, you're upset. You know, you can't go out and really change your lineup because you don't want to take them out of it. Like, it's just, I don't like doing that. I like being able to make a couple, and then that's it. I only need 2 X Factors, and I can get Kucherov or Fox. Should I get one and I have a few B&D players on my team for a while, or wait until I get enough players to then get the captain? Make sure you don't tank your lineup. I just did this to make Heiskanen, but I had enough B&D players that I could put in my lineup so it wasn't a big drop-off. If you have Cale Makar, I would not make Fox. Kucherov, I've gone up against Kucherov, and he hammers me quite a bit. I have loved Miro Heiskanen. That's interesting. I had not seen that the NHL was not continuing the Gaming World Championship this year. I feel like, honestly, that will help me to relax and enjoy the game more instead of being hyper-focused on FOMO, because GWC was the biggest driver in prior years to chase certain cards. I agree, and I've said this before after, covering the event and being friends with the best players in the world. I think that too many people use the GWC as a prop-up to Hockey Ultimate Team, and that sucks because you're literally just playing the game mode for one tournament, which, obviously 99.9999% of the player base doesn't operate like that. And now you're seeing a resurgent in versus. I know people that are literally back to grinding the versus leaderboards. And I personally, as someone that used to do that, love to see it. Do I want the GWC back? Of course, but only if it's done correctly, and hopefully with a new format that would allow people to be a little more excited about it. I couldn't believe that it went 7 years. Give the NHL credit. Esports is not just an NHL. Esports across the world globally is going through the biggest bubble burst because of COVID. And that was the peak. Hey, Slaves. Salute from Quebec. I just started to watch your videos at the release of this year's game. Thanks for all the tips. I chose to chase the holograms this year, but I now was wondering what to do with my 70 overall players, since power-up icons require 76. I know X Factors are 75 plus, but I decided not to chase them. Keep up the good work, man. I mean, I guess technically you could trade in 75s in the exchanges to get a card that you could use for the holograms. But man, that's a really rough value. What I would do is just slow play it. Like, you're losing 4 to get 1. That's tough value. When you consider a 76 in the auction house is what, like 1,000 coins more than 75. That's tough, man. I would probably just slow play getting X Factor cards. Hey Sleeves, thank you for the content. I have problems with breakouts. Are you going to make a video that about good breakouts? My guys always seem to give up. Give it to the other team when I try to pass it out. So again, I've said this for 3 weeks now. My strategies video will go over breakouts. One of the things that I would start doing is hold down the icon pass button. So hold down the pass button and don't use the icon passing necessarily. I would start using icon passing, guys, because it looks like it has perfect pass assist. It will also auto sauce. So if you pass to someone and you're using the icon passing, it'll actually auto sauce, right? Not all the time, but it will, which will save you. In terms of breakouts, what I would do is if you're struggling passing and you're getting intercepted, it's because you're playing against people that are reading the first read and you're stuck on either looking at the player with the puck and you're not using enough vision to look after your first read. So what you want to do is switch to close support, okay? And the second you get the puck in your zone, your first read is your centerman right in front of the goalie. And if that's open, you hit that, and then you can bring the puck up the ice. But you need to have knowledge of where a player is going to be and where to look first before you get the puck. So, who should you choose for B&D captains? Would you make the same choices considering it's all year? Heiskanen and Nylander. Again, I can only speak for myself. I think defensemen for the majority of the player base matter more than forwards this year for the first time ever in HUT. I would look at your top scorers, and if, again, your top scorer is a defenseman and your goal scorers are defensemen, like you have 3 inside the top 5, something like that, I would go Heiskanen. I've loved Heiskanen so far, but you can't go wrong with Nylander either. Can you explain the difference in face-off strategies? Defensive, normal, aggressive. I always default to aggressive, but to be honest, I have no idea what it does. So, if you are set to defensive, your defenseman will be all the way back at the edge. Like, let's say you have an offensive zone draw. Okay, your defenseman will be all the way back at the blue line. This is dangerous because if you do a stick lift or a kickback, a slow draw win, if someone is good, they can switch to their winger and intercept that, and then it's a breakaway against. Normal is what you would normally see, where the defensemen are are much more closer to the play, and then aggressive is you're taking like a defenseman and you're putting 3 on the wing. That would be I would just use normal for the most part. You're really not going to gain much of an advantage over aggressive, and defensive usually cost you problems rather than help you out. So gameplay is great this year. I don't even mind the slow progression. It's kind of nice to have 80 Lafreniere actually matter on my team. Just wish more packs were available as rewards. That's always been the fun part of Ultimate Team modes for me. I don't want to spend money in the game. Like I said, dramatic shift in the foundation of HUT this year. It is the complete change of how we get our dopamine hit from Hockey Ultimate Team. And the lack of packs is necessary for what they're doing. Like, again, I don't think you could have slow progression. 80 Lafreniere will not matter on your team if you've got tons of packs coming at you. That's the downfall, right? And it's like, but I do think that there should be more packs that give you fodder for team builders or the chase cards, because the chase cards are so far away that they're not even worth going after for the majority of the player base. That needs to be addressed. What's up, Sleeves? I just want to comment and say I have no idea what everyone is saying about not being able to knock players off the puck. I use the B button on Xbox, and I've been hammering guys. I load up the hit a few seconds beforehand, and I've had no issues. This is every mode, online and offline. Ah, man. That is because you are someone who is using total controls and not skill stick. And it's one of the main points of emphasis that total controls is deemed as like the cheesy, lame way to play. I use total controls because I don't think that skill stick offers you anything different, but I hit using the hit button. The problem with using B and why you don't see it a ton in competitive play, I'm talking like high Division 2, Division 1, is because when you hold down B, your player is locked in that animation. He has to finish his check, and then you get to use him again. You not being able to bump is basically when you bump someone, you want to try and get a stumble, and then you have immediate control of your player again when you're using skill stick or total control with the bumps. That's the main difference. I think that in the lower divisions where there's lack of and I don't know what division you're in, and you're probably going to come back and say that you're in Division 1, I'm sure. But from my experience, people, the better you are, the better you are at puck protection. And when you're good at puck protection, you can't really use B because again, it removes your player from being able out of the play if you miss or don't get that hit, right? Or even if you want to switch players, that player will then make the hit animation before he gets back into play. So, it doesn't. The higher the division, the more that you will see this issue. And actually, you're in Twitch chat while I'm recording this live. You're in Division 4. This makes total sense. I think in the lower divisions, B matters. Like B, you can use B and you will knock people off the puck because people in the lower divisions don't have the vision to get out of the way of it. When you're in the higher divisions, man, it's very difficult to do that. Putting the C should give players +2 overall, and A should be +1 in my opinion. Love this for theme team players. Hate this for what it would end up doing. Everyone would just have Connor McDavid +2 or whatever player +2. But I think that for theme team players, it'd be sick. It used to be in older games, but it would end up just being a thing in 3 years that we'd all complain about because there's no difference of it. It's just the same things. For the top shelf objectives, score 1 goal, make them empty the net, and hit a slap shot as long as you aim up on the net. Yeah, guys, if you're doing a moment, remember, and you've got an objective where you got to score a certain goal or whatever, if you score 1 in the final minute, they will pull their goalie. Also, if you're having a hard time doing the top shelf, D2D one-timers, aim high. 82 game breaker Skinner was lights out for me for 30 Rivals games, and now all of a sudden he's letting in every single muffin, a piece of slow wrist shots to his body, and letting them trickle in behind. It's insane. Dude, tinfoil hat. I've now hit the age where I now have these conspiracy theories about EA's code and whatnot. Dude, in NHL 15, I think, and maybe even 16, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't play a lot of HUT back then, but I'm almost positive that your goalie would start to lose attributes the more you played him, and you had to put your backup goalie in, right? To get him to, like, refresh and get back up. I am certain that this is still in the code way below, and EA doesn't even realize it. Like, I'm certain of it. It's just spaghetti code. I am certain that this is still in the background of the game, and they probably don't even know it, because there's times where, like, you've got a goalie that stops everything, and then he just can't stop anything, and switch him out to a new goalie, and it's like, oh, okay, everything's all right, and then you go back to him. What I do is I switch between Jacob Malik from Liga and Sebastian Casa. I literally just switch it. And this almost for certain does not happen, right? But, like, I'm just convinced, and goaltenders don't matter. So, like, that's what I do, and it helps me play better. So, hey, Slaves, I asked in the comments last episode, and you read it on this episode, about why Pro seems so much harder than every other difficulty. I wanted to read this, guys, because I saw a ton of comments about the Pro difficulty. Well, I decided last night to do a little experiment. I played 3 4-minute games against 77 overall teams, which seems to be the most common team in squad battles, against Semi, Superstar, and Pro. While Semi is obviously the easiest, I found Superstar tends to be better overall as far as skill and strategy. Pro seems weirdly extremely adept to shot blocking. I can't tell you how many times a perfect D2D 1T got blocked in Pro. In both Semi and Superstar, I will usually outshoot the computer, usually by a decent amount. In Pro, I get outshot, and it's largely because most shots, whether it's 1T or just normal slap and snap, are getting blocked. This has to be by design or coding. So again, I did this live. I saw enough of these comments where it basically means there's something that is going on. I've seen enough comments where, like, there probably is. Much like last year when everyone was getting ragdolled and we were like, I think it's on arcade sliders. And sure enough, they looked and there was like a background code thing where there was a tuner where it was arcade, and then like 6 months in, it worked. So I'm going to read verbatim. I went right to the gameplay developer that would probably be the one to fix this. So I'll read what I said. I'm getting a ton of feedback about the Pro difficulty level moments in HUT. Any Pro difficulty appears to play harder than Superstar. I've seen about 50 comments and posts about this now. Could you look into the Pro difficulty to see if there are arcade sliders or some sort of different gameplay going on with that specifically? Thank you. So, again, that wasn't just in the general Game Journey chat. I went right to the source, and hopefully my man, who has been one of the best developers that I've ever had the pleasure of dealing with, usually he'll get back to me pretty quickly, and I'll let you guys know what he says. So, That being said, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Who Should You Choose. Thank you again for everyone that's watching. Be sure to come through the streams if you are someone that works in the morning. I try to do Monday through Friday recaps. We watch the 5-minute recaps of every NHL game, and then we record this episode live on stream. And then my normal afternoon streams are about 2 to 5 p.m. That's where we just play HUD all day. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.